Welcome to List of. Today, we're looking at the ultimate survivors, not the I survived a bear attack kind of survivors, but the I was supposed to turn into dust 1,000 years ago, but I'm still here kind. It's the list of objects that were never meant to survive. History is, generally speaking, a dumpster fire. Most things created by human hands are designed to break, rot, or be forgotten. But occasionally, the universe messes up its schedule, and something survives that really shouldn't have. Here are 7 objects that were never meant to survive. Number 1. Roman graffiti. If you go to a public bathroom today and see someone has scratched "Steve was here" into the stall door, you don't think, a priceless relic for the year 4024. You think Steve is a vandal and probably has issues. But time is a funny filter. In the ruins of Pompeii and Herculaneum, we have thousands of examples of Roman graffiti. These weren't intended to be monumental inscriptions carved in marble for the glory of the empire. They were the 79 AD version of a Twitter feed. We have messages like, "The man I am having dinner with is a barbarian, and Marcus loves Spendusa," and my personal favorite, "Cruel Sarah, you don't care that I'm sick." These were scrawled in charcoal or scratched into plaster materials meant to last a week, tops. They survived because a giant volcano decided to mummify an entire city in ash. We weren't supposed to know that Gaius was bad at paying his bar tab, but thanks to a geological catastrophe, his credit score is now eternal. Number 2. Viking wooden ships. Wood is nature's way of saying, "I'll see you again in the compost heap," especially wood submerged in salt water or left out in the Scandinavian rain. Viking ships, like the famous Oseberg ship, were masterpieces of engineering. But they were essentially giant, floating expiration dates. They were built to be used, and when a high-ranking Viking died, the ship was often used as a burial chamber or burned. They were never meant to sit around for a millennium. The Oseberg ship survived because it was buried in a very specific type of blue clay. This clay acted like a giant Tupperware container, sealing out oxygen and preventing the wood from rotting. When archaeologists dug it up in 1904, it was so well preserved that it looked like you could push it into the water and sail to England for a light spot of raiding. It's a miracle of accidental preservation that mocks the very concept of biodegradable. Number 3. The Terracotta Army pigments. Everyone knows the Terracotta Army, 8,000 life-size soldiers guarding the tomb of China's first emperor. They're impressive, sure, but they're also naked. Not literally, but chronologically. When they were first unearthed, they looked like gray stone. But here's the thing, they were never meant to be gray. They were originally painted in vibrant psychedelic shades of red, blue, pink, and gold. The tragedy and the survival story is the pigment itself. The paint was applied over a layer of lacquer that, after 2,000 years underground, becomes incredibly sensitive to air. When the statues were first excavated in the 70s, the moment the dry air hit them, the lacquer began to curl and the paint flaked off in seconds. For 2 millennia, those colors survived in the damp, dark earth, defying the odds. They survived the collapse of dynasties and the weight of the world, only to vanish the moment they saw the sun. Modern archaeologists now have to use specialized tech just to keep the remaining paint from disappearing, like a Snapchat message from history. Number 4. Medieval paper manuscripts. Before we had the cloud, we had vellum, which is basically stretched out cowskin. Vellum is tough, it lasts. But as the Middle Ages progressed, people started using paper. Medieval paper was a nightmare. It was made from recycled rags, often acidic, and it was the favorite snack of every moth, mouse, and mold spore in Europe. If a library caught fire, the paper was gone. If a roof leaked, the paper was a soggy mess. We have thousands of medieval paper manuscripts today, but we shouldn't. They survived because some monk in the 14th century decided to shove a book into a dry corner of a stone tower and everyone forgot it existed for 600 years. It's the historical equivalent of finding a working iPod shuffle in a junk drawer in the year 2600. Number 5. The Phaistos disc. This is a fired clay disc from the Minoan palace of Phaistos on the island of Crete. It's covered in 241 symbols that no one can read. It's the world's most annoying 404 error message. Here's why it shouldn't be here. The Minoans didn't usually fire their clay tablets, they just sun-dried them. Sun-dried clay eventually turns back into mud if it gets damp. The only reason the Phaistos disc survived is that the palace burned down. The fire that destroyed the civilization literally cooked the disc, turning it into ceramic and making it permanent. It's a message that survived only because the building it was in was turned into a giant oven. It's the ultimate save button, triggered by a disaster. Number 6. The Lascaux cave paintings. These paintings are 17,000 years old. They depict horses, deer, and bulls with incredible sophistication. They were painted with minerals and charcoal on limestone walls. They weren't meant to survive. They weren't even meant to be seen by most people back then. They were tucked away in deep, dark galleries. They survived because shortly after they were painted, a landslide sealed the cave shut. For 170 centuries, the climate inside was perfectly stable. No wind, no light, no tourists breathing. When they were rediscovered in 1940, the paintings were as fresh as the day they were made. But within decades of being opened, the CO2 from human breath started growing mold on the walls. The paintings survived the Ice Age, but they almost didn't survive us. Today, the original cave is sealed off again to save them, and tourists go to a high-tech replica. The actual art is back in the dark, where it belongs, hiding from the future. Number 7. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Finally, we have the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is the big one. These are roughly 2,000-year-old parchment and papyrus documents found in caves in the Judean desert. These weren't meant to be a time capsule. Many of them were worn-out scrolls, essentially a religious recycling bin. In Jewish tradition, you don't just throw away a scroll with the name of God on it. You store it in a genisa or a cave until it decays naturally. But the Dead Sea region is so ridiculously dry, and the caves were so isolated that natural decay just forgot to happen. Instead of rotting, the scrolls stayed put, tucked into jars, waiting for a Bedouin shepherd to throw a rock into a cave in 1947 and hear the clink of a breaking jar. The shepherd was looking for a lost goat. He found the oldest biblical manuscripts in existence. It's the most successful trash disposal in human history. Everything around us is slowly turning into dust. Your phone, your car, that best of trophy from high school. But as these objects show, sometimes all you need to live forever is a little bit of mud, a very dry cave, or a well-timed volcanic eruption. Thanks for watching this episode of List of. If you enjoyed this look at history's accidental survivors, hit the like button and subscribe for more lists. What's the oldest thing you own that probably shouldn't have survived your last move? Let us know in the comments. See you next time.